Oh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the Pivotal Podspective, the show where Adrian and I are on a quest to learn from the best, aren't we, my friend?
Exactly. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night from 7 p.m. UK time.
Oh, I like that. That was very radio. I'm your host, Elliot Brown, of course, with my wonderful co-host,
Adrian Darbansu.
Now, if you've never ever seen this show, then I want to know where you've been. Have you been under a rock? I used to do that, didn't I, ages ago? But anyway, if you haven't been under a rock and you have been watching this show, welcome back. And if this is the first time, welcome to the show. We are on a quest to learn from the best, and knowledge is power. And that is why we are getting in guest extraordinaires from everywhere around the world to come and chat with us all about how we could pivot from learning from their experiences, things that they do with their clients, things they do in life, or just basically some advice. You never know what could come from the conversations. We literally go everywhere in these shows, don't we?
Exactly. It's nothing scripted. It's all genuine, natural, wherever the conversation takes us.
It is. But we do pull out some nuggets which are there for us all to be able to pivot with. Now, today's theme. This is an interesting one. We've had a few coaches on the show, and there is good and bad reps when it comes to coaches. There are a lot of coaches. And so the question is, are there too many coaches? Well, there probably are. We're going to say there probably is. However, we've got two very interesting coach guest extraordinaires this evening. Craig Chavis Jr., who is a interdisciplinary coach. What do we know about Craig, Adrian?
Well, he knows that he coaches from life experience, and his life experience is unique as everyone else. That he says that as well, and we say that as well,
Of course.
And he also thinks that everyone should be entrepreneurs of their lives, and it's a nice way to say that. Just because it doesn't really matter what you do, who you work for, or with, you should be the entrepreneur of your life. And
Definitely.
He's also, trying to teach how to living a low stress life you do not have to run away from, which is again quite an important thing, all right? And he's living his life on his terms without any regrets, and that's what he tries to preach to everyone.
Perfect. And our other coach works with non-profit or not-for-profit organizations. So she coaches in that arena. So this is quite different. Definitely interesting. She's in Uganda. So we're going to find it from a whole different culture, a whole different part of the world, and a very different coach indeed. And that is Juliet Busobozi. And she is a very interesting character. What do we know about her?
Well, we know that she helps individuals and organizational leaders to deliver projects or programs that will make them more visible for donor fundings, right? And she also helps individuals starting charities. She also design and manage projects for big donors like UKAID, USAID, and other donors, and exceeded targets, securing more funding for those organizations. And she's going to do the same for you.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to getting them on the show. If you guys have any questions at all for coaches, you want to know why there's so many coaches, or you want to know what these coaches do, or they have any questions that are going to help you, or just general questions for the show, then make sure you drop them in the comments below, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Twitter, wherever you are, drop them in. And let us know if you're watching live by putting #live. Give us some hearts, give us some thumbs up, whatever platform you're on, guys. Well, without further ado, I think it'd be very rude not to bring our guests onto the show.
Exactly.
Hey.
Hello, guys. Hello.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Happy and healthy. How are y'all?
We're good. We're all good here. We're all good. I did mention...
Yeah, sorry. Before I just wanted to ask you all of you guys. You know what day it's today? It's a International Day of something. I'm curious to know if people know about it.
No, I don't. What is it? What's International Day today? What day is it?
International Day of Stuttering, or when you cannot really say the words blah 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 blah. That's the International Day today.
Like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So if we're gonna do it, it's just because it's International Day.
There we go. Listen, so if you're going to stutter, guys, you're absolutely cool with it. In fact, if you don't stutter on this show, we'll be offended. So you're in Uganda. So tell us about non-for-profit before we get to our other guest extraordinaire this evening. Let us know what it is that you do with non-for-profit organizations.
Thank you very much. My name is Juliet Busobozi from Uganda. I work with non-for-profit organizations. I've actually been implementing or working with non-profit organizations for the last 18 years. And I've actually been having a lot of impact in the communities where we work. I've worked for World Vision as one of the biggest non-profit organizations. And after quite a number of years working with non-profit organizations, I stepped out as a coach for non-profit organizations because I know that there are quite a number of organizations that are coming up, or there are a number of individuals that are coming up to start non-profit organizations, and they actually need the guidance. They actually need someone that will walk this journey with them because it's not a one-day journey. But in the same lane, I also work with organization leaders like CEOs, head chief of parties, program managers, and I work with them to help them deliver on their mandate, because we have noticed as a result of COVID-19, quite a number of things have come up. Most of the organizations that have actually struggled to get funding, the limited funds that we have available, organizations that haven't been visible. They're organizations that haven't been delivering on their mandate. Everyone would want to work with an organization that has been visible, that has been showing the transformation that is out there, that has been delivering on their mandate. So as organizations struggle for the limited funds, at the back of their mind, non-profit organizations should know that every organization that delivers on their mandate places themselves in a very good strategic position for donor funding. So having worked with non-profit organizations for the last 18 years, I know the challenges that organizations go through to deliver on their mandate. Sometimes it's staffing, sometimes it's poor planning, and all that. So I work with CEOs and I work with organization leaders so that they can deliver on their mandate and position themselves for the donor funds that are available.
Wow. Okay, that's an in-depth bit of coaching there. I mean, that's very advisory. It's not just coaching. I mean, you're consulting on quite a high level, aren't you, with non-profit or non-for-profit organisations, as we sort of call them over here. So you've been doing this for 18 years as well. So you've clearly got a very good idea about how you need to, position yourselves. And in a market like it's been this year, I believe these non-for-profits have been hit, harder than ever. Than probably in all of our lifetimes, and even before that. Yet then they come up with certain things, and suddenly there's all this money available. Unbelievable. Anyway, we're not going to go into the politics per se on that side, but we'll come back to that in a second, Juliet, because that's really interesting, and I think it's really topical as well. Craig, right? I've got to ask you, mate, seriously. Interdisciplinary coach. I mean, that's a great title you've given yourself there, and there's a good reason for it, right?
Definitely. It's because I come from a very multifaceted and non-traditional background. And as Adrian did so well when he introduced me, it's like my philosophy is all about becoming the entrepreneur of your life. And so with that type of mindset, I soon realized that just as like your significant other is a reflection of you, your business is a reflection of you as well. And so when it comes to coaching, it's not just business coaching, it's life coaching, it's career development, it's success, leadership, executive coaching. And so when you try to bottle that all together, you really can't put a box around yourself, but then at the same time, you still have to. So when I was figuring out how to brand myself and what I do, interdisciplinary made the most sense, because the sheer definition means from multiple backgrounds or multiple different fields of academic studies. And so for me, I just feel that it just represents who I am and what I do.
It makes a lot of sense. As you said, it's quite a broad spectrum, but you're bringing in different, as you said, multifaceted sort of areas of it, and then bringing it into one place, which is not an easy thing to do. How did you come up with the name though? Come on, how long did it take you to find that name, or did somebody say something to you and you went, "Yeah, that's the coach I am"?
Trial and error. I mean, I view life as like a journey and like a work in process. And for the longest, like I couldn't really define who I was and what I was doing.
It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, business coaching. Then it came to career development. Then it was life coaching. And I was like, none of this makes any sense. And so being an author and a writer myself, I really had to do some due diligence and literally went through the dictionary and thesaurus, looking up words that could encompass who I am and what I'm all about. And once I found interdisciplinary, it just clicked and made sense.
I like it. To be honest, it's a good name, and I think it works really, really well. So, are there too many coaches out there, guys? I mean, let's face it. Let's be open about this.
And just straight into it. Yeah.
Let's get straight in with this. What do you guys think? You're coaches. We all coach to a certain element, and even though we don't class ourselves as coaches necessarily, we will do with clients as well. There's too many coaches out there, though, right?
I think so. There are quite a number of coaches out there, but it also depends on what every coach addresses, the problem that they are trying to solve, the transformation that they are trying to bring. For example, my niche is quite different. It is quite interesting that I would step out to look at non-profit organizations. Greg will give his side of the story, but every coach that stands out has actually a particular niche that they are looking out for, and those are the clients that are looking for the services that they offer.
Yeah. And listen, I absolutely get that as well. There aren't necessarily quite so many coaches in your arena, I would say, Juliet. I mean, Craig definitely knows that there's a myriad of business coaches out there. And as I said in our virtual green room before the show, and I apologize if I'm going to offend any coaches out there. In fact, if I offend you, that's probably because you're not as good as you say you are. And that's true. But there are, 80% of the coaches out there really are not best placed to be a coach. Now, you've got 18 years experience in doing what you're doing, Juliet, and from your, the way you said that when we first started the show, you clearly have a mass amount of knowledge and experience as well. And we have to agree, by all of us here, the best coaches come with massive experience, don't they? Not that's textbook written. This is how you become a coach. You go on a course where, you go on a course to learn, I don't know, some sort of business practice, and then come off and suddenly you're a coach because the coach that was there says he can teach you how to be a coach. I mean, let's face it, how many of those are there across the globe right now? There are thousands of people becoming coaches. It gives coaching a bit of a bad name though, Craig, doesn't it?
Definitely, because there's too many non-credible coaches and there's not enough coaches that come from lived experience. I completely agree with Juliet. It's like, okay, what is your body of work? Because if you don't have any experience, you're not credible. And no certificate is going to give you any credibility. And so for me, just like Juliet, I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. And so when it comes to my style of coaching, I'm giving you real life experience. Like, I'm not just this clean, high polished person that just got out of corporate America and got a certificate and just said, hey, I'm going to teach you what I was taught. This is what I've lived. And so like, I'm coming from a position of knowledge, not just theory. And so people who come from that position, like we do, definitely bring the credibility, which is most important and which distinguishes you from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, there's a coach for everybody, right? We've had mindset coaches on here. We've had anti-mindset coaches, believe it or not, that in essence, because it's all talked about mindset, then they like to maybe put a different twist on it, which in essence really brings you back to the same sort of point, that it is about mindset, but just putting it in a different way. And that alone in itself is where there are different coaches for everybody, because somebody may go, oh yeah, mindset is the thing. I need my mindset sorted now. And somebody else is going to go, I'm sick of hearing about mindset. It's not about mindset. It's about, preparing yourself mentally. It's how you also take in that information as well. And how you sort of, I'm trying to think of the way of putting it. It's the way that you take the words that somebody's going to put across as a coach and how you then digest them and that's how you sort of make those work for each other and for yourselves, I suppose. Does that make any sense? I sort of got off track a little bit there, didn't I? Martin Miller says, nothing trumps decades of life experience, the right kind of experience, though. Absolutely, Martin. Martin runs a very successful company which helps out lots of business owners as a group, and they do a networking thing as well, I believe. So thanks very much for watching, Martin. Thanks for joining the show.
Martin, thanks.
And you're absolutely right as well. You know, it is those decades of life experience. Some of us don't necessarily have decades and decades. A couple, maybe, few, maybe, but it does help. But you do get coaches now, guys, that are in their 20s and suddenly think they're a frigging coach, don't they? You know, and what's all that about? They may have learned something.
I would say I counter that a little bit because for me, it's not about the breadth of your experience; it's about the depth of it. And so, how many people do we know who've been doing a job for 50 years, but they've been doing one thing for 50 years, and they have a lot of experience with doing one little thing. And so, like, one of the ways that I also define myself is like a modern Renaissance man. Like, I know a little about a lot of different things because I've constantly experimented and failed forward in life. But those failures have been very deep life experiences. And so I'm typically more of a quality over quantity type of person. But I definitely do agree. It's about the richness of that experience you have.
So I'm curious, guys, what made you want to become coaches?
To add something to what Craig has said, I think the depth of experience is actually something that we should talk about, because when I was starting my work, I started as a volunteer. I worked as a volunteer for 1 year for World Vision, and I wasn't being paid. I was just gaining experience on the ground. So as time went by, I got the opportunity and I got employed into the organization. And I handled quite a number of projects. I handled projects on education, projects on health, projects on agriculture and livelihood, HIV/AIDS, child sponsorship, quite a number of things. So with all those years coming, then I joined a different organization, and then I went into working into neglected tropical diseases. Those are 5 diseases that affect most of the African countries. Then there was something on social inclusion. I was handling social inclusion projects. Then I got into this whole picture of education of children with special needs, special learning needs. And I got into this experience of working with eye health projects, but making them inclusive. Point to note is that most of the targets or most of the projects that are implemented, they target the male gender. So I was in there and ensuring that the female gender actually benefits. And on top of the female gender benefiting from the interventions that are being done, the disabled people also benefiting. So you had to look for persons with disability. Looking at the Global Sustainable Development Goals, they talk about leaving no one behind. That is the Agenda 2030. So most of the interventions that we're doing, we're looking out for people that are vulnerable, people that are neglected, the elderly, the disabled, the women, the girl child, the people that are always left out of programming. So the expertise or the experience that I've built over the years is something that I can help to build non-profit organizations that are starting up, but also those that have been in existence and have challenges or have gaps. So I think I stand and I can advise and work with them to deliver on their mandate.
Yeah. Wow.
So I think you kind of answered why you became a coach. Yeah,
that's a pretty good reason. Going into those, seeing what you've seen, you obviously have a huge heart and have seen some pretty horrific things, I'm sure, over your period of time and doing this. And as I said, I mean that to me speaks volumes. You know that the fact that you coach in that arena and doing what you do because of what you've seen and experienced is. You can't buy that. You can't buy that shit. You literally cannot buy that stuff. It's not something you can just go and learn from a book. You can't watch a film. You can't go on a course and learn that stuff. That's only something that literally comes with experience, for sure. And so anybody taking you on in your area in Uganda, do you do this globally, or is this just in your sort of vicinity, in your local area?
I've opened it up and I'm doing it globally. I'm working with people in the US. There are people that have actually approached me and they need fundraising strategy. At the beginning, we're talking about COVID hitting most of the non-profit organizations. And one of the things that they're struggling with is funding. So I'm working with some of them to come up with fundraising strategies so that they can realize the funds that they need to implement the activities in their organizations and meet the needs that are in the communities.
Oh, excellent.
So
That's
it's
great.
global, not only reaching people in Uganda, but it's open. I can work with everyone everywhere. Looking at the technology, I'm talking with people in the US and all that. So technology has actually simplified many things, and we can use technology to our advantage and to do our work effectively.
Oh, I mean, and that's brilliant. I mean, this year, I would say that has helped even more so than ever before, right? So because everybody's got so used to doing these calls, or these, let's say, shows, or doing video calls. So this is, as it's made it much easier for you to, stretch yourself out globally. That's brilliant. That's perfect. And I'm sure that you can bring something to the table that a lot of people wouldn't in a more developed part of the world as well. From maybe somebody that works with non-profit organizations in the US or the UK is going to have anywhere near the knowledge that you do in some of the things that you've seen. And so they then get a hands-on experienced coach, but from another part of the world. I mean, that's the beauty of technology, isn't it? I mean, to bring people close together. And we've said this on this show so many times now in the last 4 months, that there is a community of people that come on and do this sort of stuff, that get ourselves out there, that have come closer together. I don't know what it is where you guys are, but we don't talk about COVID very much but we are starting to a little bit at the moment. But you go out onto the street and you've got more of a distance than you did before, or you go to the shops. Yet we are all talking like we sort of almost know each other now in our own little digital room. And it's brought a world community closer together. A very bizarre world we live in, really, when you think about it. Actually closer to people that are thousands of miles away than we are with our neighbours. How mad is that? How mad has the world gone there? But perfect for coaching, perfect for working with people all over the place. Craig, where do you tend to work with your clients? Are they everywhere? Where are yours?
It's actually global, just like Juliet. I just signed a contract to work with a business in Ghana doing a logistics play out there. And for me, like, COVID has been the biggest blessing in disguise, because I just can't help but think about A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. And the opening line is, "'Tis the best of times, 'tis the worst of times." And I think it's always been that way. But for me, I always see the glass as half full instead of half empty. And prior to COVID, I was doing everything in person, like going on site, working with people, speaking at conferences, going to different corporations or different organizations. And COVID blew that all up. So it really forced me to pivot and level up and think outside the box. And I'm so glad it happened, because I've always dreamt about building a business that allows me to live and work from anywhere. And thanks to the internet and technology, I'm able to connect with somebody from Romania, somebody from Ghana, somebody from England, and like, we're all together. And like, the internet is like the modern Gutenberg press. It just democratizes our access to knowledge. And so with us being entrepreneurs, it's like, okay, you have to figure out how to leverage tools to your advantage. And so this is the ultimate tool: a video camera, an internet connection, a microphone, and then bam, now I wonder why my impact, influence, and income has gone through the roof. But it's because of this technology that we have access to. And I'm so thankful for it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, Adrian and I were working together here in Essex only a few months ago, and it hasn't changed our working together at all. We obviously carry on doing the show, no problem at all, and even if I've got technical issues on this side, and working together as well is no different. And I love the video side of things, so that does make it easy. Do you find that coaching, on a video call or a session is as easy or as productive or as impactful as it was in person? I mean, that goes for both of you, really, to be fair.
I think it's almost the same thing, just like you mentioned when we're discussing this point. Like, it is like you've known us for ages. when you get to talking to a person, even on a video call like this, you talk about different things. You begin with life, family, you relate and talk about the things that are common to you, the situations that are going on around the world, the politics. Then you get down to coaching. So it is like you're communicating to someone that you've known before. And I don't think there is a problem with it. It's actually very interesting because it's more convenient. You don't have to move. You just have to set your time right. You just have to set your technology right, and you will be coaching or talking to the person that needs your services.
Yeah, definitely. And same for you, Craig. I mean, how does that work with what you're doing? Obviously, made it easier, made it better. Has it made it you can do more? I suppose with your day.
Yeah, it's made the business model definitely more efficient and effective. Like, that's something that's undeniable. But I also can't refute the fact that, like, I'm a super people person. Like, I'm very energetic, very charismatic, and there's nothing that's going to beat sitting down in front of somebody face to face. Because a lot of people that we know this to be a fact, a lot of people like the BS when over the video, and a lot of people, especially over the phone, like, a lot of people are great at manipulating their voices. They can change their face, but when you're down in front of somebody in person, you could feel that energy. You could really understand whether they're receptive to what you're doing or whether they're bullshitting you. And so video, you can't really get that as much. It works. You still can't beat the in-person thing, but my business is happy for technology and video. I can't lie about that.
Adrian, you prefer it, mate, don't you?
I think it just depends, man. I like both things, to be honest, but I like it from a time perspective, because meeting with someone face to face, that requires usually traveling. You talk a bit more. It's a bit more difficult to have a to have a schedule and respect that schedule, if you meet with someone face to face. And that's why I just like it a bit more like that. And I was talking actually today with Elliot. I have a client that, to be honest, I have never even seen his face or we ever had a video call in 1 year and 2 months since we're working together. All right.
Yeah.
So it just works.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, I mean, there are definitely a lot of coaches, out there. I think the thing is that you've got to know what you want from a coach, right? You've got to know now. I mean, Juliet, you're in a particular, sector. So if somebody's in that sector, they're going to come to somebody like you. And I don't suppose there is an abundance of coaches in your sector either, to be fair. I know the private sector doesn't necessarily go for coaches. I mean, I wouldn't have thought over here, but I can see where it's more coaching, it's more, advisory, consultative as well. I mean, what you're definitely doing. But picking a business coach, Craig, on a business to business level, there's lots of different types of coaches. Financial coaches, there's business strategic coaches, often mistaken for motivational speakers as well, where even Tony Robbins is not, doesn't like calling himself a motivational speaker. We brought this up a couple of weeks ago, but he's a strategic speaker, and I think that's absolutely right. But so sometimes people get pigeonholed into these areas because that's what they think they are. What advice would you give if you were sort of saying to somebody, look, what is it? What sort of coaching? Where's your help? What would you ask somebody if they were going, look, you're a coach, you must be able to help me, Craig? Which I'm sure you must get at times. But what do you sort of ask to find out what it is that they need help with and coaching with?
Well, I like to screen my clientele on 3 different variables. 1 is confidence, 2 is clarity, and 3 is consistency. And if the clients don't have all 3 of those variables, I really can't work with them. Because number 1, if they don't have clarity, if they don't know who they are, who they're not, then we're just going to be wasting time.
Yeah.
2, if they're not confident in their abilities to step out on faith, to manifest their dreams into reality and become an entrepreneur, we can't work. And then the second thing, if they're not going to be consistent and dedicate themselves to this process, we can't work either. So I definitely do my due diligence as well to make sure I screen people just as much as I want them to screen myself. And so that's why I have my own little process where I have this funnel, I stick to it, and it's mutual that they weed themselves out, I also weed them out. And then after that process is done, if we're a good match, then we can work together and just the expectations are set and business is good.
I like that. So you cut out that BS, you cut out that bullshit, don't you? Rather than trying to coach people to a point where they're coachable, you're going, look, you need the clarity first. You've got to have this confidence. What was the third one?
Consistency.
Consistency, and you've got to have the consistency. Let's face it. If you've got somebody with those, they're far easier to work with. They're willing to be worked with. The problem is there's a lot of coaches that are in that BS level, so to speak, that are trying to help you to get to the point where you're coachable, and yet they're telling you they're coaching you. What often I see is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, and I know Adrian's going to agree with me here, that they are promising you a dream that really you're chasing, and they sort of prey on that. And there's a lot of people that do that. I've seen that out there, and a lot of they get called out occasionally. There's property guys over here. There's been a big property coach over the last few years that in essence was getting 300 people into a room and doing that whole we're going to coach you on property and it's a big blag. Blag by, if you don't know what blag is it's a bit of a, not a con necessarily, but there's a lot of over promising and under delivering.
Exactly.
Would you agree, Adrian?
Yeah, but I would say it also comes down, again, I think it goes down to you're either the idiot or down to experience, right? And the reason is just because I think we've been there at some point, all right? And
I'm speaking from experience always on this show, you know that.
Exactly. And we took clients or wrong type of clients just because we didn't have enough experience just to understand that they do not have those three things that you said, Craig, right? They didn't have any confidence, they didn't have any consistency, and they didn't have any clarity, all right? And we took them on just because we didn't have those either. All right, let's put it that way. But yeah, I think once you get further in this journey and you get more experience, you start to understand that you need to have your ideal type of client. You cannot just bullshit anyone just for the sake of taking their money and things like that. I'm not saying that I've done that in the past. I've done it, but involuntary, just because I didn't know what the hell was happening, And every time I felt if I've seen something doesn't work, at least I had the decency to say, stop it, things are not working, just move on to something else, someone else, whatever you want to do. The problem with the coach is that Mr. Elliot is talking here is that they like to bullshit you for a long time.
Well, can we distinguish between what is a coach and what is a salesperson? Because I think those are two different people. Because the individuals we're talking about, those are salespeople. They're just selling you a dream and a fairy tale. Where to me, a coach is somebody that attempts to bring the client up to their level. And so if I see people who aren't bringing their clientele up to their level and they're just kind of keeping them on their teat and creating all these products and services that keep them in this mental hamster wheel, that's a salesperson. But ultimately, my end goal is to help my clients get independent of me. I don't want to be your coach forever. You should get to a point where you're good enough where you don't need Craig anymore. And that's just kind of the way I see things. I'm not a salesperson. I really want to help you. And then once you get to a certain level, you should be out on your own.
I think that's a great way of looking at it. It's a great way of looking at it. You're absolutely right. There are salespeople that are definitely putting across that they're a coach for sure. And I've not thought about it that way, but you're right. And it's quite a hard sell, isn't it? I mean, somebody once told me that there's a dirty front end to getting a mass amount of people in so that you can get them signed up. And I think they're absolutely right. It's that promising something that they believe they need, but actually it's not that they need. They need the help. And so they have this dirty front end that shows them, I'm going to give you all the answers you need to help your business, your organization. And then they don't deliver. They deliver enough to keep you hungry. It's like giving you a little bit of cake, and I'm going to give you a little taste of more. Have another little taste and see what you think, and then you want the whole cake. It's probably the best analogy I can come up with on that. I mean, this doesn't apply to you, Juliet. I mean, you're in an arena. These are serious organizations. So,
and to be honest, I like it. I like it just because it's very niched, and Elliot knows that I like to say that quite a lot. You need to get very good at something on a specific niche, or even a sub niche of something, So that's what you've done, Juliet, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, do you
just to answer just to answer what Elliot was saying, to say something small about the kind of people that I work with, I would also want to work with people. I do the screening actually, because you can't work with everyone. I would want to work with people that will put in practice the things that we agree on, because starting an organization or looking at the work that organizations do, you need to implement. If we have a coaching session and we agree on specifics, I would want to work with someone that implements the specifics, so that in the next meeting we are going forward, or we are addressing some of the gaps or the challenges that you met along the way while doing the homework or while implementing what we agreed on. But getting everyone on board, obviously there are people that would want to be coached, but they don't want to put in effort because they think it is your role to make them succeed.
Yeah.
And yet it is their effort for them to succeed. So my screening actually points out clearly at the beginning that you need to put the work that you need to put in to see your organization succeed. Your success depends on the work that you put in. I am giving the advice, but the success that you will get at the end of the day depends on the work that you put in.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it doesn't come easily, does it? You know, we haven't had sleepless nights and working all nights for nothing, and you know, and I guarantee all four of us. I know Adrian's definitely been doing this recently, and I know, so I'm going to speak for you both, and I see you both nodding. But we do, you know, it's that you don't get anywhere. The thing is, right, and I've said this before. We serve people, don't we? We're here to serve. We're obviously born for that, because we're doing shows like this because we want to talk, we want to help people. We're not here plugging ourselves. We're not here doing, you know, we're having a conversation. So it's all about serving people, getting people to do better for themselves, their business, whatever it is, growth, you know, pivoting, whatever it is. I get a buzz from it, and I'm assuming you guys do as well in our own arenas. Adrian, we get a buzz occasionally, don't we? You know, but you know, sometimes not so much of a buzz, more of an electric shock, maybe. But that's by the by. But we do, and it doesn't come easy. If it came easy, they'd all be doing it. And I think there's going to get to a time, I feel, particularly the way the world is now, that some of these so-called coaches are going to not be able to put their content out because they don't really have a clue. They probably had a bit of a stab at it in lockdown, and they're probably still trying to do some stuff now. And I'm seeing a lot of this going on, you know, on social media. Let's face it, we all see it. It's going to get a stage over the next couple of years where I think that's going to peter out. You're going to get a few people that are going to go, really, this is not my bag. I'm just bashing my head up against it. I've lost all my money that I've taken for my redundancy check that I've been given that quite handily came in lockdown. Now I've got no money left, and I'm going to go back to working life. I think there's going to get a stage where this calms down. I mean, what do you reckon? I don't know, but it's got to, hasn't it? You can't keep getting more and more coaches. Otherwise, there's enough coaches. There's a joke about all these coaches coaching coaches as well now, isn't there? You know?
No, it's funny because like the moment like I put that, I mean, my coaching profession on my LinkedIn, is like I got inundated with people selling me on how they could get all these unlimited qualified leads and that I'd have an endless flow of clientele, and it's just like, come on, people, like that's just not possible. But to go back and touch based on what you mentioned about, you know, having empathy and getting satisfaction from helping clients, like to me, like that's huge, because I learned the hard way growing up that like none of us are self-made. And like we all need help getting where we want to go in life, and kind of that humility and going through failure and having people breathe life into me is part of the reason why I do what I do. It's like, okay, if I really want to make this world a better place, I have to realize it's not about me. It's about really showing up, filled up, and helping other people get to their goals as well. Because if somebody could tap into their genius, they're going to make the world a better place. Because like I'm looking at this camera, it's like somebody created this camera, somebody created these clothes, somebody created my shoes, and it's like we're all living this life because somebody created something. So if I can help people do that and be their best selves, it's like it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. I just want to say that I'm curious, Craig, if you can tell us if you have any coaching story that got stuck with you in all your career until now.
I mean, that might be, I would say coaching myself, getting out of my own way, because like we all suffer from imposter syndrome. And for the longest, I didn't think that I had a story to tell. And it's like when I really accepted this whole coaching journey was when I got my book deal, because I wrote basically a memoir. And when I was writing the book for other people, I was really writing it for myself. And I had to conquer that project to really level myself up and become who I am today. Because like the opening line of the book says that this book is dedicated to all those who dare to answer their calling, to abandon the status quo, follow the road not taken, and discover the person they're truly meant to become. And so I coached that to people, but I also had to embody that myself, because to become this coach, I had to get over my own baggage. And I'm so glad I did, because I'm able to be who I am today.
Wow, that's some powerful shit right there, Craig. I'm loving that. I mean, that's good. And so from the heart as well. We've probably got a couple of the most humble coaches that we've ever had on the show, and genuinely, like, really, I've learned so much. In fact, from you, Craig. I think you speak from the heart. You speak from experience. You have a very easy confidence in what you do as well, which is not forced. It's nothing but what it is, and I commend you for doing that, because it's not what I expected this evening. And nothing on you, but that's because of my cynical outlook on coaches, to be fair.
That's because of your experience.
And my experience. No, actually, my coaching experience hasn't been too bad. I've just seen a lot. I mean, listen, who I've been coached with actually did me some good. Whether I agree with the way that they do the rest of their business, that's completely my, I think I commend everybody that does it. If they're successful being a coach and they've got, in whatever format they have for their business, listen, if they're successful and that works, then everybody needs to have something like that to maybe believe in, or a lot of people do. And Juliet, from what you've said, I genuinely would like to know more about, what it is that you do and what help you give to these organizations. I would definitely going to be watching, keeping an eye on what you do, because I'm intrigued. It's not an area I've ever looked at before. And unusually, I'm quite a broad. I've got quite a broad idea about businesses and organisations globally. This isn't a place I've ever looked before, and it's interesting. I'm intrigued. by it, and I think that you could help a huge amount of organisations, because this is a world that has been really hit in that area for sure. So yeah, I'm humbled by this evening's show, guys. I really am. I was expecting to be able to give you a bit of a slating, and it's not happened at all. So what do you think, Adrian? Are you as surprised as me?
Yeah. It's also just before the show, I've watched actually a video that kind of, let's say, taught me more about gratitude as well. So it kind of tuned in with what we've discussed tonight, and it was a show that made me very emotional. It was a YouTube video that made me very emotional about a guy with disabilities that had some issues, and he went through some things, and just to see the joy in someone that has nothing, and when they get very little, it was just something that I haven't seen in a long time. And that kind of ties in very well with the show that we've done tonight. I've just seen here people that talk from the heart, people that like to help others, just like we like to help as well, And I think it's cool that it's not all doom and gloom or whatever you say. It's not all bad in the world, There are good people as well.
There are. I think the moral of this is that you've got to, if you want to coach or you think you need help, you've got to go and find the one that suits you. I'm still looking for somebody that really suits me on all levels. I think I probably need multiple coaches, if I'm perfectly honest. And so that's something that's probably going to come with time. But I reach out to my friends, my colleagues, people like Adrian. We probably coach each other on a natural level. We think we constantly teach each other. And I think that's, if you're able to have that around you, and let's face it, as entrepreneurs, we probably don't have as many people around us as we would like to be able to get advice and talk to, because that's just the nature of doing what we do as business people. Juliet, I mean, I'm assuming there's not that many people that you can discuss and get advice from in your arena, is there? You probably have more knowledge than most.
Yes, I do. Actually,
Yes, I
if you
do.
had
Yeah.
asked me,
Actually, yeah, there's nobody like me. Yeah.
I interestingly, I had started as a business coach because I had been doing business for 5 years until I got someone that spoke to my life and told me, you cannot do business when you have spent the last 18 years implementing for non-profit organizations, and yet you can stand out there and help people that are struggling in the non-profit organization sector and work with them to deliver on their mandate to transform their lives, because this is what you have done all your life. Almost half of your life that is what you've been doing. So why would you go into being a business coach other than you doing your niche, something that you are skilled at, something that you went to school to do for over 6 years, degree and masters, and then you go to the field, you work the 18 years. So that is the reason why I stepped into this kind of coaching for the non-profit organization. And I think I am getting very comfortable. The need is actually very, very big. Given the COVID-19, very many organizations are coming up and they actually have no clear picture on what to do. Today I was talking to someone that said, I don't know what making a budget is. And this is someone that is coming up with a charity, and they are challenged in coming up with a budget. So I made a call with this gentleman, and I helped him through the different steps of coming up with the budget. And at the end of the day, 30 minutes, it was done, and he was excited. So the need is big. I believe there are many coaches that would fit into my shoes, people that have been doing non-profit for quite a number of years. They should come out and help many people because the need is great, and people have the money. Some have money, some are struggling with their organizations, and they're struggling with funding. And these are some of the gaps that we can address as people that have the expertise, people that have been doing this for such a long time.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think very, 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 very well said. I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people that sit, and I don't know about the rest of the world, and I'm just going to speak for the UK because I know the situation. There's a lot of quite wealthy people that sit at the top of charities and earn tax-free money in the UK. And I don't necessarily always agree that all these people should be sat where they are. And those are the people that, if they are really as knowledgeable as they say they are, and they're sat at the top of these charities and they're earning very good money without having to pay any tax on quite a lot of that earning. In fact, all of the earnings up to a certain amount of money. They're the people that could really help. They could be coaching they could helping other organizations. I definitely don't think there's enough people in that part of the world, as in that arena, that sort of in non-for-profit or charities. Definitely not enough people helping out. I think there's been a few wealthy what do you call it when people hand out money and
philanthropists.
Philanthropists, thank you very much. They actually this year have done that. Footballers and people like that have been doing that because of this. But it's taken something like this world to get those people to step forward. And a lot more people should, I think, to be honest. So kudos to what you do, Juliet. I think you're doing an incredible job. And I genuinely believe that there should be more people like you, for sure. Where can people find your information, Juliet, if they want to get in touch with you and they want your help in their organization, or know somebody that would want your help?
I'm in a process of coming up with my website, but I've actually have a Facebook page, and it's called Thriving and Transforming Nonprofit Organizations. That is where I post most of my content. I talk about the different things that people need to know about non-government organizations. But I also have a personal page that is called Juliet Busobozi. It's more of personal, but most of my work is on the transforming and thriving nonprofit organizations. That is where they'll find me. They can send me a PM, and then we can pick it up from there.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. And Craig, where can people find you, my interdisciplinary coach friend?
So if they can see the way my name is spelled, you can find me at my website, www.creativecraig.com, and you spell that CRE, the number 8, IVE, Craig.com. You can learn more about me, what I do, and grab a copy of my book, Burdens of a Dream, as well.
This Burdens of a Dream. I'm intrigued by your book, Craig. I have to be honest with you. I think I might get a copy of that and add that to my collection of things I want to read over the next few months, because I'm genuinely intrigued, particularly something you said before we started recording about, a business that you had in a past life. There's some intriguing things in your past that I think would be quite interesting to learn about. So I should be checking that out. So thank you very much, guys. I really, really appreciate, and we really appreciate you coming on the show. I'm hoping that this has maybe dispelled some ideas that people have about the bad idea of coaches, and gives us a good idea, that actually there is a coach for everybody. There are also a lot of bad coaches, guys. So I'm not ever going to say there isn't, because there are. But you just check them out. Don't just look at their Facebook profiles and things like that. Check them out. If they're any good, they'll be more than happy to have a very open conversation with you. And in fact, a lot of people are giving their email addresses out these days as a way of you directly contacting them. So if they can do that and you can find out and have a bit of a conversation, get on, have a 20-minute call. If they are just going to basically do a bit of a sell to you and they're not really going to listen to you, and I've had this recently with actually somebody that worked for a very, very, very big coach, and I had a call and I thought, I'm intrigued to see how that would go. The guy just basically tried to sell something to me. He didn't actually really find out anything about me. If they want to find out about you and they stay virtually silent for the whole call while you tell them, there's a good chance they're willing to listen to you, and you may get somewhere with them. That's the best advice I can give you. Would you agree with that, guys?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
definitely.
Sure.
If they're willing to listen to you, then they're interested in you. If they're just trying to sell to you, then they're not. I think we lost Juliet there. I'm not quite sure what happened. But if you want to know more about what's happening on Essex Business Radio, we have dropped in the links, or Adrian has dropped in the links for both Craig and Juliet. But if you want to know more what's going on with the Essex Business Radio and the guests we've got coming on, then keep an eye on our social media. Essex Business Radio, apart from Twitter, which is Essex Biz, BIZZ Radio. We are here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with one or two guests, and it could be about almost anything, but we do have a subject matter which we try and loosely keep it around. And you can catch us on Facebook, multiple profiles, YouTube, and of course, Twitter. We are going to be turning these into audio podcasts. Keep saying this. We actually had a conversation this evening, so these are being produced. And over the next month or so, you'll be able to see all of the shows that we've done over the last 4 months. Well, all of them. 90% of them, because there's a few that weren't great. But most of them, including this one, this has been a good show. So you're okay, Craig. You're safe. But we'll be seeing those. And you can catch those on the Essex Business Radio app, which is available to download free, of course, at any good app stores. Or you can go and find us pretty well anywhere. Thanks very much, Craig. Thank you, Juliet, although she's gone. And thank you, Adrian Dorobantu.
Thank you, ladies and gents.
Thank you very much for watching and listening. Big love to you all. And we're going to sign off for now. And I'm going to say ciao for now.
Brown cow.
Brown cow.